She didn't scream. She didn't cry. She didn't sound afraid. She spoke calmly, almost casually, about her husbad as if he were already gone. The recording shows the time, 10:32 p.m. At that moment, no one had reported him missing. Police weren't searching. No one suspected a crime. But the woman on the line, Celeste Morales, was already speaking like a widow. "My name is Laura Bennett, and this is the story of Adrian Morales, a decorated military officer, a devoted father, and the man who vanished without a trace in the quiet city of Valle Verde, Central America." Adrian's disappearance would soon uncover a shocking betrayal, orchestrated by the one person closest to him, his wife, Celeste. From the outside, the Morales family seemed perfect. They lived in a secure, gated community, in a large, modern home where silence hung over the streets at night. Their 3 children were happy, energetic, and unaware of the tension simmering behind closed doors. Adrian was 46 years old, an elite military officer known for his calm, disciplined nature. Celeste, 38, stayed home managing the household, polite, controlled, and always composed. No one imagined danger inside their home, but the cracks had begun to show. By early summer, arguments were frequent. Trust had eroded. The tension was constant. In late August, Celeste filed a temporary protection request against Adrian, claiming she feared him. When the judge reviewed the evidence, videos, and text messages, it revealed something unexpected. Celeste appeared confident, unafraid, even confrontational. Her messages were sharp, critical, and provocative. The court denied the request, noting the marriage was dysfunctional, not abusive. After that, Adrian's life began to change. He avoided home whenever possible, staying at a military facility or in his car for nights at a time. To a trusted colleague, he admitted, "I don't feel safe there anymore." He planned to separate, to protect his children, to quietly move on. But he never made it out. What Adrian didn't know was that Celeste was hiding a secret and intense, consuming relationship with another man. Text messages later recovered showed her fantasies of escape, of a future without Adrian. 2 nights before Adrian disappeared, she showed this man a loaded handgun. She didn't threaten him. She didn't explain. She simply showed it calmly. On the night everything changed, the children were not home. Celeste had arranged for them to stay elsewhere. Adrian returned late. Neighbors later reported raised voices, a heated argument, then sudden silence. What happened next would only be revealed through recordings, messages, and traces of evidence Celeste never intended anyone to see. Celeste made a phone call. She spoke freely, coldly, about her husband as if he were already gone. At that moment, no one had reported Adrian missing. No one could have imagined the storm that was about to hit Valle Verde, and just when it seemed the night had passed quietly, investigators would later discover that Celeste Morales referred to Adrian in the past tense hours before anyone knew he was missing, a detail that would set the investigation on a path no one could have predicted. The night had fallen over Valle Verde, and the Morales home was quiet in a way that felt unnatural. The children were away, staying with relatives, and the streets outside were empty. Inside, tension hung thick in the air, almost tangible, as Adrian Morales returned home later than usual, unaware that this evening would change everything. Celeste Morales moved through the house with calm precision, each step deliberate. For weeks, maybe months, she had planned every detail. The children safely away, the home arranged just so. Her mind set on an outcome no one could have anticipated. When Adrian stepped inside, the first words were sharp, accusatory. Years of resentment, frustration, and secrets spilled out in a single moment. Their argument started quietly, then escalated, voices echoing off the walls of their modern home. Neighbors would later recall hearing shouting, then a sudden, eerie silence. In that silence, the unthinkable happened. Adrian couldn't see what was coming. He couldn't imagine that the calm woman he trusted had rehearsed this night in her mind countless times. The gun she had shown her secret lover 2 nights earlier was now within reach. Silent and deadly, Adrian pleaded, trying to reason with her, trying to diffuse the anger, but Celeste was distant, almost detached, her mind elsewhere. Words alone could not stop what had already begun. Investigators would later reconstruct the scene from fragments, traces of blood, displaced furniture, and a home meticulously cleaned afterward. They would uncover her steps, the phone she smashed, the new mattress she ordered, the precise route she drove to cover her tracks. Every move calculated, every trace intentional. Meanwhile, Adrian's absence went unnoticed for hours. Friends expected him at work, in calls, in his usual routines. The military unit noticed, but the true gravity of what had happened had not yet become clear. Celeste, meanwhile, maintained a composed exterior. She spoke to her lover, recounting events in a way that seemed almost casual. Each word, each pause, would later become critical evidence. Every recorded conversation, every message, was unknowingly sealing her fate. The children were still away. Outside, life in Vale Verde carried on as if nothing had happened. But inside, the aftermath of that night would leave a mark that no one could erase. The most haunting question remained. How could someone so close, so trusted, carry out such a plan without leaving immediate evidence? And just when investigators thought they were facing a mystery with no answers, a single recorded conversation would surface, a confession so chilling that it would change the course of the investigation forever. By the next day, investigators were just beginning to realize something was wrong. Adrian Morales hadn't shown up for work. Friends and colleagues tried calling. No answer. The quiet city of Vale Verde was about to wake up to a mystery that would shock the community. Meanwhile, Celeste Morales continued her routine as if nothing had happened. She picked up the children from relatives, ran errands, and maintained a calm facade in public. But behind closed doors, the carefully constructed image of normalcy was already starting to crack. It was her conversations with her secret lover that would become the first real lead. Over the phone and in person, Celeste recounted fragments of the night, details she assumed were private. She spoke casually about the argument, about Adrian, about the moments that no one else knew. Her words were unnerving, too calm, too controlled, and the lover, sensing danger, began to record every conversation. The first recordings revealed something horrifying. Celeste described Adrian not as a husband, not as a father, but as someone already erased from her life. She spoke about what she had done, about how she had cleaned the home, how she had removed him, and about the steps she had taken to make sure no one would trace it back to her. Her tone was chilling, detached, almost casual, as if she were discussing something routine. Investigators began piecing together the evidence. Phone records, GPS data, messages, and financial transactions all pointed to careful planning. A new mattress had been ordered just days after the night Adrian disappeared. Routes taken by Celeste's car matched locations where Adrian's belongings were found or abandoned. Every move was deliberate, every action calculated. Celeste's parents also following Adrian's disappearance. Purchases, trips, and odd timing raised red flags. Investigators would later find evidence that suggested they had helped her clean the home and cover up the traces of the crime. Even as the investigation slowly unfolded, one chilling question remained. How could someone execute such a plan so methodically and remain so calm in the aftermath? What kind of person could erase her husband from life and speak about it as though nothing had happened? Then came the breakthrough. One of the recorded conversations captured a statement that would become pivotal in the case. He's not a person anymore. He wasn't Adrian. Those words, recorded before anyone even reported him missing, were damning. They painted a portrait of a woman who had already decided the fate of the man she once called her husband, and just when the investigators thought they were beginning to understand the depth of the deception, another piece of evidence surfaced, something that would expose just how far Celeste Morales had gone to hide the truth and bring the case closer to unraveling entirely. Days after Adrian Morales vanished, the investigation began revealing a disturbing picture of what had happened inside the Morales home. Detectives noted inconsistencies in Celeste's story, small details that didn't add up. The calm, polite mother everyone knew now appeared to be hiding a much darker reality. When investigators executed the first search warrant, the scene inside the house shocked them. The master bedroom had traces of blood carefully cleaned but still detectable under forensic lights. Walls, Carpets and furniture showed signs of hurried cleaning. A new mattress lay neatly on the bed frame, hiding the evidence of what had occurred just days before. Every corner had been scrubbed, every trace of violence attempted to be erased. Digital evidence matched the physical scene. GPS records confirmed Celeste's late-night movements. She had driven to locations where Adrian's belongings were abandoned. Phone records showed deleted calls, messages erased, but not before investigators recovered fragments that painted a chilling story. The investigation also uncovered her communications with her lover. She had detailed the steps she took, how she moved Adrian's body, cleaned the house, and replaced the mattress. Her tone remained unnervingly calm, almost casual, as if discussing a mundane chore. Then came the revelation that would make the case truly horrifying. Her parents had helped. Evidence suggested they had spent hours in the Morales home, assisting in the cleanup and helping to cover up traces of the crime. Purchases of cleaning supplies and even the new mattress were linked to them. The people who were supposed to protect her had become accomplices. As the pieces fell into place, a grim portrait emerged: meticulous planning, a calculated execution, and methodical attempts to erase every trace of the crime. But investigators knew one thing: no matter how much she tried to cover it, something always leaves a trace. And then they found it. A recording, hidden in plain sight, of Celeste Morales. Speaking to her lover, she said, in a tone both casual and chilling, "If you think I could hurt a fly, he's not a person. He wasn't Adrian." Those words would become the centerpiece of the investigation. The evidence mounted: the blood, the GPS data, the deleted messages, the involvement of her parents. It all pointed to one terrifying conclusion: Celeste Morales had planned every detail. She had thought about this night for weeks, maybe months, and executed it with cold precision. But just when investigators believed they understood the full extent of her actions, another shocking discovery came to light, one that would reveal a new layer of deception and send the case spiraling in a direction no one could have anticipated. Days turned into weeks, and the city of Vale Verde was still searching for Adrian Morales. His absence had grown from a mystery to a nightmare for friends, colleagues, and family. But for Celeste Morales, life appeared to continue normally, as if nothing had happened, a chilling contrast to the storm of suspicion building around her. Investigators began tracking her movements meticulously. Phone GPS showed her driving to locations where Adrian's vehicle had been abandoned, and, later, to remote areas where authorities suspected she had hidden him. Her financial records confirmed purchases consistent with cleaning supplies, tools, and the new mattress, all carefully timed to cover the traces of a crime. The breakthrough came when Celeste's lover handed over the recorded conversations. He had captured details that left no room for doubt. Celeste described in precise and chilling detail the movements she had made that night. She recounted the argument, the silence that followed, and how she had moved Adrian's body, cleaned the home, and replaced the mattress. Every word, every pause, revealed a woman who had already imagined this entire scenario and executed it without hesitation. Her parents' involvement became clearer as investigators traced their trips to the Morales home. They had helped clean, purchased supplies, and assisted in erasing any evidence. No one could comprehend how a mother and a wife could orchestrate such meticulous planning, and yet it had happened. Meanwhile, the investigators faced their most frustrating challenge. Adrian's body remained missing. Weeks of searching remote locations yielded nothing. Volunteers, military personnel, and police scoured forests and rivers, but the evidence remained frustratingly incomplete. Every lead was a thread, but the tapestry of the crime was far from complete. And then came the recording that would shock the city. Celeste, speaking to her lover, said words that would haunt investigators and the community alike: "He's not a person anymore. He wasn't Adrian." Those words, calm and detached, revealed the depth of her detachment and her cold precision. The authorities now had the confession they needed. Even if the body was missing, the evidence was undeniable. But just when it seemed the case could be pieced together, something unexpected appeared. Another clue, small but undeniable. hinted at a location far beyond where investigators had been searching, a secret that Celeste had taken with her, and a truth that, if uncovered, could finally reveal the final resting place of Adrian Morales. Weeks passed, and Valverde was gripped by fear and confusion. Adrian Morales was still missing, and the community struggled to reconcile the image of the devoted military father with the horrifying reality unfolding. But investigators were closing in. Every piece of evidence, every recording, every GPS ping painted a chilling picture of Celeste Morales' actions. The breakthrough came when authorities analyzed her movements in detail. Celeste had visited remote areas outside the city, places difficult to access and sparsely populated. Investigators suspected these trips were not random. Combined with the recordings and her meticulous cleanup of the home, it was becoming clear that Celeste had carefully selected locations to hide any trace of Adrian. Her parents' complicity became undeniable. Investigators discovered receipts, security footage, and witness accounts confirming that they had helped her with the cleanup. Supplies purchased for home improvement were actually used to erase evidence of the crime. Every small detail, once overlooked, now contributed to a damning portrait of premeditation and cold calculation. Meanwhile, the recordings from her lover grew more damning with each review. Celeste recounted the night's events with disturbing calm, describing how she had moved Adrian's body, cleaned the house, and tried to erase every trace. She spoke of him as if he had ceased to exist, the detachment in her voice sending chills down anyone who heard it. Despite all this, Adrian's body remained unfound. Months of searches in forests, rivers, and remote valleys produced nothing. It seemed as though she had planned not only the act itself but also the perfect disappearance. The question haunted everyone: how could someone execute such a plan and vanish without leaving the ultimate evidence, the body? Then, a new piece of digital evidence emerged. A GPS ping, previously unnoticed, revealed movement to a hidden location far north of the city, a place investigators had never considered. The coordinates hinted at a secretive site, possibly the final resting place of Adrian Morales, and as the team prepared to investigate this new location, one terrifying possibility became clear. Celeste Morales might have hidden more than just her husband's body. The lengths she had gone to cover her actions suggested a level of planning and cold precision that could shock even the most experienced investigators. The discovery awaiting them could finally unravel the mystery of what truly happened that night and reveal the full scale of a crime that had devastated an entire family. But what they would find next would be far more horrifying than anyone could have imagined. Months had passed since Adrian Morales vanished, but Valverde was still haunted by his absence. The investigation had revealed a chilling truth. His disappearance wasn't the result of an accident, a random crime, or a fleeting moment of rage. It was a meticulously planned act, executed by the person he trusted most, his wife, Celeste Morales. Investigators had pieced together the horrifying sequence: the argument, the movement of Adrian's body, the meticulous cleanup, the replaced mattress, the carefully staged routes to mislead authorities. Digital records, GPS data, and recorded conversations left no doubt Celeste had orchestrated every detail. Her parents' involvement further painted a picture of cold calculation and premeditation, yet the most painful truth remained: Adrian's body had never been found. Despite countless searches, rivers scoured, forests combed, and remote areas investigated, there was no sign. For the Morales children, the void left by their father's disappearance became a constant, unbearable reality. Their mother, who should have protected them, had instead destroyed the family from within. Celeste remained in custody, facing charges of first-degree murder, obstruction of justice, and conspiracy. Court proceedings revealed the evidence layer by layer: her confessions to her lover, the recordings, her detailed planning, and the trace evidence linking her to every action taken to hide Adrian. The trial shook Valverde, leaving residents stunned that a mother and wife could commit such a crime with such cold precision. And yet, the most haunting detail of all was her detachment. In recordings, she had said, "He's not a person anymore. He wasn't Adrian. Words that would echo through the investigation, the courtroom, and the hearts of those left behind. The children would grow up with memories of a father they could never fully say goodbye to. Friends in the community would wrestle with the reality that someone they trusted could hide such darkness behind a calm facade. To our listeners, remember this: trust is fragile, and the people closest to us can sometimes hide the darkest secrets. Never ignore warning signs, and always value honesty, transparency, and communication in your relationships. Protect yourself, your loved ones, and the truth, because actions have consequences, and the choices we make can change lives forever. That's the story of Adrian Morales and Celeste Morales, a cautionary tale of betrayal, planning, and the devastating cost of deception, because in the shadows of deception, there are truths that no one can undo.